I can barely believe it. All I have left to do of this Hydrocephalus project is to spin these bats into this yarn and crochet the last section. It's almost officially done. And I'm going to tell you about one of the greatest trials and triumphs that has been crocheted into this piece. One thing I want to mention here, my craft room's getting a facelift, so let me know in the comments which color you like best. Hi, my name's Allie. I'm a fiber artist and I love spinning yarn. It's like the ultimate zen, ultimate meditative practice. In fact, all of the yarn you saw in my Hydrocephalus project was yarn I spun myself. This piece tells the story of my journey with Hydrocephalus, with all the challenges I've had, and ultimately learning to live with Hydrocephalus. Now, when my speech coach, Mr. Shaheen Davari, first heard this story that I'm about to tell you, he told me that it needed to be on my YouTube channel. And I thought, why would someone want to hear a story about me losing the ability to walk and gain it back? That's not a fiber story. But then I realized learning how to walk changed everything. And I don't mean that time I learned how to walk when I was 19 months old. I mean the second time I learned how to walk when I was 19 years old. And what I realized was that I never would have learned how to spin yarn if I hadn't learned how to walk again for the second time. But I'll take that one step even further. I never would have learned how to spin yarn or walk again, and if my eye doctor hadn't saved my life and my eyesight when I was 19. Now, in order to spin yarn, there are 3 basic skills that you need. And these are skills that most people have like right now. The first is the ability to move the treadles up and down with your feet. I just realized that in this clip I was treadling too fast. But that's how you treadle. Just don't go as fast as I was. So if you can march in time, or tap your feet, then you can spin yarn. The second skill you need is the ability to stretch a rubber band. Well, actually, you need to be able to draft the fiber. And you do that by holding onto the fiber with one hand and pulling it out with the other. Just like this. Now this is a little different than spinning with roving, because I'm spinning art yarn for this project. But that is the basic idea. Yeah. And to make it a little simpler, the basic movement, you can make the basic movement by taking a hair tie or a rubber band and just going like that. That's the basic movement. So if you can do that, then you can spin yarn. And the third skill you need is the ability to see. Now, I almost lost all of those skills when I was 19. And if I had never gained them back, then I would never have learned how to spin yarn. Now, why is that? My eye doctor saw something in my eyes that no other doctor had seen. He saw something that was a threat not just to my eyesight, but to my very life. Now, September is Hydrocephalus Awareness Month. And 2 years ago, during Hydrocephalus Awareness Month, I started this wall hanging. Also, September 23rd is the anniversary of my last Hydrocephalus-related surgery. Tomorrow it will officially be 5 years since my last hydrocephalus related surgery. Side note here, I did not consent to having more than half my head shaved. That was not part of the deal. Mental note, next time someone says they're shaving some of your hair, confirm what some means. But I made the best of it, and ultimately I decided to continue making YouTube videos rather than stopping making YouTube videos. And I did that by making sure that I took selfies every day to get used to it. And I got so much positive feedback for it. This wall hanging tells the story about my journey with Hydrocephalus. And it's worth noting that I spun all of that yarn on myself. I also designed the piece myself. So there are well over 100 hours put into this piece. So in honor of the anniversary of my last hydrocephalus related surgery, and it being Hydrocephalus Awareness Month, and the Hydrocephalus walk being 2 days ago, I am going to tell you about one of the greatest trials and triumphs that was crocheted into that hydrocephalus as wall hanging. And I hope you find it enjoyable and somewhat inspirational. So there I was, sitting in the exam chair at my eye doctor. Hand up to my head, and my eyes squinched up, my brain feeling like it was being crushed by the outside of my head. And I was barely able to walk or see, but I managed to look over and vaguely see the shape of my eye doctor sitting at his desk. He had his phone up to his ear, and I distinctly remember hearing him say the words, "I am not letting this girl out of my office until you agree to see her." He was on the phone with my neurosurgeon. I didn't know it then, but he had just saved my eyesight and my life. I was born with hydrocephalus, which is the leading cause of brain surgery in kids. That means the body can't regulate cerebral spinal fluid pressure on its own. The only treatment for hydrocephalus is surgery. The most common treatment is the placement of a shunt. A shunt is a mechanical device that's placed in the ventricle of the brain or sometimes elsewhere in the body to help regulate the flow of pressure. But unfortunately, those shunts can fail. And that's why we have so many surgeries. I have been very lucky that I have only had 12 hydrocephalus related surgeries. And at the time of my eye doctor appointment, I had just had my second of 4 hydrocephalus related surgeries in a 5-month period. After that second surgery, I developed life-threatening complications. And these complications made it so that I was having constant headaches, a lot of difficulty seeing, and I was unable to walk, sleep, or feed myself without assistance from one of my parents or my brothers. In fact, my vision was so bad that it was double, wavy, blurry all the time, and even when I wore glasses. And when we would go out driving, it would look to me like we were going to crash into cars. Because the cars would appear and disappear in seconds. That wasn't what was actually going on, but that's what I was seeing. And if my vision and my ability to walk had stayed as bad as it did, then there is no chance that I ever would have learned how to spin yarn, or like I am right now, or basically do anything else. The problem that doctors were having with figuring out what was wrong is that my brain scans didn't show any sign that anything was going on inside my head. So my neurosurgeon thought that all of these symptoms that I was having were not caused by the shunt malfunctioning, and that they must have been caused by something else. Now, my eye doctor saw something in my eyes that no one else did. And something that was a threat to not only my eyesight, but my life. I had something called papilledema, which is swelling in the back of the eye. My eye doctor showed me in pictures of a normal person's eyes, and then he showed me pictures of the back of my eyes. The normal person's eyes looked flat. Mine looked like there were volcanoes spewing out of them. My eye doctor took my dad outside and told him that damage like that to my eyes of that magnitude could only be caused by one thing: pressure on my brain. And that if I survived, I would likely have permanent damage to my eye vision. Fortunately, all I need is glasses to see long distances. I don't need them to spin yarn. It took 2 more surgeries and countless days in the hospital and lots more complications, and before we started to finally see improvement. But in early spring, we got the first sign that I might walk again without help. My mom offered to help me attempt to walk to the end of the block and back, even though my feet would only move a few inches at a time. But I slowly inched my way forward, step by step, inch by inch. I made it to the end of that block and back in 15 minutes. And when we got back, my entire family celebrated like I had just taken those first steps 17 years earlier. And it was then that we started celebrating small victories as if they were big deals. 1 month later, I called up my best friend and I told her that I had just run 15 feet. And she cheered along with me, because there's nothing quite as euphoric as running when you couldn't walk 2 months prior. And now, years later, not only can I walk and run, but I can also spin yarn. But I never would have learned how to spin yarn if I hadn't first relearned how to walk. I hope you enjoyed this story. Okay? If you want to hear more about my hydrocephalus experience or the story behind my hydrocephalus as wall hanging, you can click this link up here. That has a list of all of my hydrocephalus videos. And most of them are fiber art related. Have a good night now. Bye.